Good morning, boys and girls. I have a question. I want you to close your eyes for just a second and think about the best trip you've ever been on. Maybe it was a road trip with your family where you traveled to lots of different places. Maybe you got on an airplane and went far, far away. Maybe you hopped in the car and went for a day trip to the beach or the mountains. Just think for a minute about how much fun that trip was. It is so much fun to visit new places. A few years ago, I got to go on a really, really big trip, and I want to tell you a little bit about it. I got on a bus and we drove to DC, and then we got on a plane and we flew over the Atlantic Ocean, and I got to visit two new countries, Israel and Jordan. You see, Israel is where Jesus lived, and it's where David lived too. The last few weeks, we've been talking and learning about David, and I want to tell you about somewhere that I got to visit that's important for our Bible story that we're going to talk about this morning. We went to a place called Ein Gedi. A few weeks ago, we learned that Samuel anointed David as king. The only problem? Saul was still the king. Last week, we learned how David was able to defeat Goliath and save the people from the Philistines. You see, the people really liked David, and that made Saul kind of jealous. And David had to run away because he was afraid of what Saul might do to him. He had to run and hide. It was basically like an adult version of hide and seek, like real life. He was hiding because he didn't want Saul to hurt him. He did not want Saul to find him. And one of the places that David hid was this place called Ein Gedi that I got to visit. In this area of the country of Israel, it is very dry, and finding water is sometimes really difficult. But Ein Gedi was this wonderful place that had a little waterfall and a natural spring. There were caves where they could just get out of the sun, and it had a clear view of some of the surrounding areas. David was looking for somewhere to hide, and he found Ein Gedi, and he found this cave, and that is where he hid. I want to show you a few pictures from my trip when I went to Ein Gedi, including the waterfall. And I want you to picture this scene as we read the story in a few minutes, okay? Okay, so this picture shows just how dry the land is. There aren't very many trees, it's a lot of rock, and so it just kind of gives you an idea of what that area looks like. But there are some fun animals that live there too. This was some of our group making their way up the trail. Here is a picture of some of the caves that are built into the side of the hill. They were kind of hard to get to for people. We didn't actually get to go into any of the caves, but if you see, there's not a whole lot of trees, so a cave would give you so much shelter from the sun. So from the top looking down, this was the view that we saw. And off in that distance, if you see that blue way out there, that's the Dead Sea, which is water, but it's not water you can drink. So this is a picture of the waterfall that was at the top of the hike that we went on. And the waterfall itself isn't very large, but the water at the bottom is so refreshing. The day that we went, it was so incredibly hot, and I was able to put my feet in the cool spring for just a minute and cool off. Imagine that you were David and you've been on the run hiding from Saul, and you find this beautiful, beautiful place with caves, a little bit of greenery, and some cool water. It was the perfect place to hide. This last picture is just a picture of our group as we're making our way back down after we've climbed up to the top. Okay, so now that you kind of have an idea of what the area looked like, I want you to keep that in your mind as we read our Bible story this morning. We're going to do it a little bit different. I have some Bible story cards that have pictures, and these are actually created through New Spring Church. And I love the Bible story cards that they create because this helps combine a couple different stories, because David was on the run from Saul for a long time, and this is going to kind of help us see a little bit of that, okay? Okay, here we have King Saul right here. David was in King Saul's army, and King Saul thought of David as a son. Because David was a great leader, people started to notice all the good that he was doing. One day, Saul heard how much the people loved David, and it made him really jealous. In fact, he was so jealous that he made plans to hurt David. His jealousy got the best of him. He was so angry that he tried to kill David, not once, but twice. But the good news is that Saul wasn't able to kill David. David didn't want to fight with Saul, so he decided to leave. He ran and hid inside a cave. God saw David hiding and told him that he should go to the land of Judah. God promised that he would keep David safe and that Saul wouldn't hurt him. Because David trusted God would keep his promise, he obeyed and went to Judah. David's family and friends heard where he went, and they decided to follow him. The Bible says that 400 people went with David because 400 of the people knew that God was going to take care of David because they knew that David was a man after God's own heart. King Saul learned that David and his people were in Judah, so he followed them there. Remember, they were playing a game of hide and seek, and he got a clue about where David was. While they were looking for David, King Saul needed to go to the bathroom. Have any of you ever been on a trip and you're just like, oh, I have to go? That's basically what happened to Saul. All that walking just really made him need to go. As Saul was looking for a place to go to the bathroom, he came across a cave. And can you guess who was hiding in the back of that cave? Yep, it was the same cave. Isn't that crazy? That's right, David and his men were hiding in the back of that cave. David's people said, "Hey, David, look, God has given you Saul and you can kill him. Go ahead, just do it." While Saul wasn't paying attention, David snuck up behind him and chopped off a corner of his robe. But David knew it wasn't right to kill Saul. He told his men, I can't kill Saul. God has chosen Saul to be king, and one day I will be king. But Saul's going to be king until God says otherwise. So Saul left the cave and went on his way. David went outside the cave and called to Saul, "Saul, Saul, when you were using the bathroom, I took a piece of your robe. I could have killed you, and my men knew it too, but I knew that wasn't right. I didn't want to kill you. God has chosen you to be the king at this time, and I am not going to be the one to take that away from you." Because David showed respect to King Saul, Saul even said he was sorry for trying to hurt David. And Saul could see that David had made the right choice, and that made Saul want to make the right choice as well. David would be king one day, but David promised Saul that until God made that happen, he would respect Saul as the king. This story is so crazy to me because Saul is on a journey to kill David. And here, David now has the opportunity where honestly, he could have killed Saul. But David was a man after God's own heart, and he chose to do the right thing. He knew he was going to become king whenever Saul died. And he knew that if he'd killed Saul, that meant he would immediately become king. But David did the right thing. He respected Saul, and he did what he knew God would want him to do. Sometimes obeying God means doing the right thing, even when it's hard, even when it's challenging, and even when it doesn't seem fair. This week, I invite you and your family to play a game of hide and seek. And remember the story of David and Saul. Remember how David hid from Saul and how he did the right thing by not killing Saul. I love you guys and miss you, and I hope to see you soon. I hope you have a great week. Bye.